Coach Gene Galin here with Asheebo, Rojas from the Chatham News Record. I'm from the Chatham Journal. It's our weekly ChathamNC Sports Roundup. You can see on the screen what we're going to be talking about. So let's take that down and start rock and rolling with last Friday's games. We're also going to talk about the upcoming games this Thursday and Friday. Now, let me go ahead and hide that. And there we go. All right. There's Mr. Asheebo right there. All right, and there's me. All right. Asheebo, let's talk about Friday night's games. Let's start off in Northwood at Cummings. We were both there. What's your assessment of what happened? We actually had a game thing. It would have turned out pretty well, except something happened in the first play of the game.
Yeah, the first drive. I think it was about the third play. Carson Fortunes took about a 26-yard run down to the sideline. He got tackled in kind of awkward way. I think it was his right hamstring, right leg injury, and he couldn't go back into the game, unfortunately. So Grayson Cox, sophomore, had to step in for Northwood, and he got onto a little slow start. I think he started like about 3 for 10 for his first 10 attempts, but in the second half, he really got it going. It's just unfortunate that the defense, they kind of got shot with Baylor's speed and power there at the beginning. He gave up a 55-yard touchdown in the first quarter. But the rushing attack, they Northwood couldn't really handle all of it. It was Jonathan Paylor was also the quarterback with a spoon and also number 6. So, even with Northwood's offense starting to get going in the second half, Gus Ritchie had a good night. Isaiah Blair also had a good night. It just wasn't enough to overcome, what the defense was giving up on their side with the rushing attack that Cummings was bringing in.
Yeah, you talked to Coach Mitchell after the game. I actually sat in. There were a couple of folks from the sports media that cover NC State, and both you and I, and actually some people walked by and said, "Hey, is that Dave Dorn?" Dave Dorn was out there that night. You can let folks know what you talked about with Coach Mitchell, but I heard Gus was one of the things he was talking about was the fact that he was going up against Paylor, which is going to be one of his future teammates on the state side, and he said it was interesting because he went up to get a ball. I think I actually got a picture of it. Paylor was right there and hit him. He said, "Whoa, that was a hard hit." And he looked up, and there was Paylor standing over him, and he helped him up because, again, they're going to be future teammates. But what was Coach Mitchell's feeling about the game? I mean, Coach Johnson.
Coach Johnson. He really wanted his team to really learn from this loss. He felt like his team, might have not been as with as much consistency as they should have in the first half. I know they were dealing with the injury of their quarterback, and that kind of helped. That kind of hurt their offense there early on. Really telling his team after the game, hey, like now that they're not going to win the conference with that loss, now it's time to get ready for the playoffs. Take care of Chatham Central this week. They have them tomorrow after their game got moved to Thursday. So he really wants them to focus in and really take advantage of this week to get better before some when it really matters in the playoffs.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about playoffs a little bit after and take a look at how Northwood and Seaforth and the other teams are stacking up in that. The other two games you had Seaforth as Southeast Alamance and Jordan Matthews versus Bartlett Yancey. I want to let folks know how those games went.
Yeah, so Jordan Matthews, Bartlett Yancey. Jordan Matthews, they had actually one of their most productive offensive games all season. They had I think 130 yards passing and 2 touchdowns from their quarterback, Nick Glover, and including a 53-yard touchdown pass to their other quarterback, freshman Rajay Torres, in the second quarter. Neil Wiley also had a good night running with 122 yards and a touchdown. But once again, the same issues with Northwood in their game. And this was just not handling Bartlett Yancey's rushing attack well. I think Bartlett Yancey ran for 421 yards and 6 touchdowns against Jordan Matthews. So even though they put up 27 points and some of their highest point totals all season, some of their best offensive production all season, it just wasn't enough against Bartlett Yancey on the defensive end. Then C4, they've been dealing with some quarterback injuries this year as well, and they were hit with a more balanced attack. They gave up 114 yards through the air and 193 on the ground with 5 touchdowns also coming from on the ground as well. And then yeah, Seaforth, they're one game away from setting their short history of their single season wins record of three wins in a season. They were only their second year playing varsity, so they really have a good chance of doing that next week against Jordan Matthews. Not next week, tomorrow against Jordan Matthews. I'll be at that game tomorrow, and we'll see who comes out on top in that one.
All right. Hey, talking about games this week, has that Jordan Matthews, Seaforth at Jordan Matthews game, has that been changed to Thursday, or is that still on for Friday? Do you know?
Yes, it has been moved to tomorrow, Thursday at 7 o'clock.
All right. So tomorrow we've got Northwood at Chatham Central. Chatham Central senior night game, and we got Seaforth at Jordan Matthews. What's your take on both those games? Personally, again, I feel Northwood's going to walk away with the Chatham Central game. No offense, Coach Little. Seaforth and Jordan Matthews. How do you feel about both those games?
Yeah, I think Northwood will take this week to really get better, and I think they'll take care of Chatham Central this week before they head into the playoffs. For Seaforth and Jordan Matthews, this was I kind of want it to be a close game. Won't be surprised if it is close, but also won't be surprised if Seaforth really gets it going in this one with Anthony Veshke and their running game. I think they can have some success against Jordan Matthews. Jordan Matthews isn't one of the best doesn't have one of the best run defenses we've seen in the county this year. So with Seaforth, their number one guy at quarterback to throw the ball around. I imagine them run game a lot more and finding some success against Jordan.
And if I'm not mistaken, Northwood at Chatham Central, that's Northwood's last game of the season. They actually have a bye week the following week, so we won't see them. This is the last chance if you're a Northwood fan to go out and see them at Chatham Central. What you got coming up in the paper today? It's this week, a new week, and what's going on in Chatham News Record? What do you have going on in the Chatham News Record this week?
Yeah, so of course I have the Northwood and Cummins gamer. That was a big conference matchup with two NC State commits. And then also we have a really cool story coming out of Chatham Central volleyball. Their senior team captain, Kelsey Hussey, reached 1,000 career assists in their senior night game against Northmore. Fortunately, they lost 3-2, but she needed 7. She came into the game with 983 assists, only needing 17 assists to reach the goal. And she got it in the second set. And she also finished with a career high of 51 assists, single game career high. So she had a really big night. And I don't remember who they played in the conference tournament, but I think they're still in the running for a playoff spot here in the state tournament, which the seeding will be released tomorrow. So definitely some cool things coming out of Chatham Central. And then of course we have our regular roundups, and also something I got a message from Jordan Matthews volleyball coach Johnny Austin. He's restarting the Chatham United Volleyball Club this year, so it's an opportunity for kids from ages 12 to 17, boys and girls interested in playing volleyball outside of the high school season. They're also looking for coaches. So this Monday on October 23rd, they'll be hosting at Jordan Matthews High School in the gymnasium at 6:30 for anyone that's interested to play or a coach. So it'll be $200 per player, and Coach Austin is really looking forward to bringing this back to give those kids another opportunity to develop and become more competitive in volleyball here when the high school season comes back around.
Yeah, JM played Northwood on Monday and defeated them, I think, 3-0 at Northwood. Looking at the standings, you've got, again, Seaforth at the top. They're playing tonight for the championship game. Bartlett Yancey's number 2. Northmore's number 3, Northwood's number 4, Jordan Matthews number 5, Chatham Central's number 6. And I think you and I talked before we started this. The playoff brackets are supposed to be released tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll have more on that next week. Out of the Northwood, out of the Chatham County teams, who do you think is going to be hitting the playoffs?
For volleyball?
Yep.
Actually, I think all of them should be getting into the volleyball playoff. For 1A side, it should be both Chatham Charter. It should be all three: Chatham Charter, Chatham Central, and of course Woods Charter. They're also playing in their conference championship today. Woods Charter. Be interesting to see, how they do, as well as Seaford, how those teams do against out of conference competition, because they've dominated their conferences, both with undefeated in conference play. And then for the 2As, they've been coming on strong as of late here at the end of the season. They actually got a set on C4 last night, which is a good sign. So I think they'll come Central down there. And in the paper, I did have a volleyball preview. Also forgot to mention that with RPI, based on the RPI standings that was released on Monday. The RPI standings updated on Monday. C4 would be in first place. Seat would be 7th. Northwood projected seat 28th. Jordan 26th, and that's for the 2A side. And for the 1A side, Chatham Central projected seat 28. Woods Charter projected seat 6, and Chatham Charter projected seat 26. So, of course, Woods Charter and C4 should be up there at the top with some of the top teams in the state and at the closest to the bottom. But we'll see how the rest of the state finishes their volleyball season to see if all the Chatham teams can get in.
Yeah, and I was going to say with the local teams being seated so high in volleyball, it's a chance for Chatham County fans to go out and see those games locally, because probably for at least the first couple of games they will be playing at home. We jumped to volleyball, but we forgot, who's your athlete of the week?
Yeah, athlete of the week, we got boys soccer, Francisco Ibarra from Jordan Matthews. He's a junior on the boys soccer team out there in Silo City. Had a great week against two huge opponents. They started with North Moore on Monday, which was a big conference game, and then they followed that up with another big conference game against Southeast Alamance. In both those games, they were dominant. Francisco scored a hat trick in the 9-0 win over Southeast Alamance, and then against North Moore on Monday, he had assisted on 1 goal. So he was very productive this week for Jordan Matthews, and a big part of their success against two of the better teams in the conference. So they're really looking dominant. And yeah, thanks to Francisco, they really put their stamp on the conference and the county this week.
All right, talking about high school soccer, I think last week you covered JM's game at home, and I think with that win they clinched first place there. What is it? 9-1-1, 10-1-2 overall, and Seaforth's number 2. Northmore's 3, Southeast Alamance 5, and Northwood is 1, 2, 3. Oh, Northwood's 5, Southeast Alamance is 4. What's your feeling as to who's going? Well, JM's going to be there, but what's your overall feeling as to how the playoffs are going to break out in soccer? Because I think they have one more week of regular season play before they start talking about playoffs.
Yeah, I think for sure Jordan Matthews and Seaford has really impressed me how they played the last couple weeks. 7 wins in a row. They really played themselves to the top of this conference over Northmore and Southeast Alamance. So, of course, Jordan Matthews and Seaford. I see Northwood, hanging around there at the 5th place spot too. Although they're 6 and 7 in the conference, the RPI might allow them to squeak into the playoffs here. So we'll see about Northwood, but for sure, Jordan Matthews and Seaford will be representing Chatham County. For the 1A, Chatham Charter, not doing as well this season. But we'll see if they can squeak in closer to the end of the regular season here when they get all the RPI standings figured out.
Yeah, and I think Woods Charter hasn't been doing well this year either, so I don't see them making it into the playoffs this year. Anything else we need to talk about soccer before we hit the next topic?
No, I think we go with soccer.
All right. You and I were both yesterday at Northwood for the Mid-Carolina Cross Country Championship. The other neat thing, I think one of the moms really enjoyed the fact that you posted a few videos of the winning runners, the first 3 runners for both the women's and the girls. Why don't you talk a little bit about what happened at Northwood yesterday for the Mid-Carolina Cross Country Championships?
Yeah, so team-wise, it was all Seaford. Seaford got the win for both the girls and boys races. Individually, Sydney Gray from Northwood, the sophomore, she finished first in the girls race with a time of 20:41, and having a great season for Seaford this year. He finished first in the boys race with a time of 17:23. So congrats to those two for winning the conference championship and individually. And then also for season awards in the conference, Northwood head coach Cameron Eisenhower won Coach of the Year for the boys side, and it was Coach Smith from Seaforth winning it for the girls side. Also, Runner of the Year for the girls, of course, was Cindy Gray, first place here at the girls race, and Runner of the Year for the boys was Jack Anstrom. So, really, it was really all Northwood and Seaforth. Seaforth got the win in that one, but really excited to see what Seaforth can do, especially when it comes to regionals and state. They're really expected to be, right there competing for a state championship and coming first and second place. So they're really looking forward to see what they can do and just wanting to get better, stay healthy, for when that time comes around.
Yeah, I think we'll see both Seaforth and Northwood do pretty well in the regionals, and those are going to be over in Cary. So that's coming up in a few weeks. And again, Seaforth, Northwood's going there. I think was it the Bears? They had a couple runners yesterday, and JM had a couple of decent runners as well. So overall, Chatham County looks good when it comes to cross country. What's the scoop on tennis and golf going into? Well, actually, I think golf and tennis is in there, getting close to their playoffs, if not already in their playoffs.
Yeah, I was looking at. I think Northwood had alerted they had a golf win. Let me just check that right quick. Make sure I get that right. Yeah, Northwood had Taylor Thompson. She finished third yesterday at the Mid-Carolina Conference Golf Championship. I didn't know about that. But as far as tennis, I think tennis playoffs do start today. And Seaforth, of course, one of the higher seeds there in the bracket. So looking forward to seeing what they can do. They really impressed in the conference championship, them and Northwood. Those are the two top teams for the county to look at when it comes to state playoffs. So I know Seaforth, I think they got to the state championship last year, couldn't get it done. So hopefully they can do it again and this time finish the job.
All right. Basketball season is about 3 weeks away. High school basketball season. You've got something coming up in the paper. We'll talk about that in a second. But the other thing we need to let folks know is that Asheboo and I have been we're hoping going to have a media day that's coming up. We don't know the specifics yet, but be an opportunity for Asheboo to ask questions of both the coaches, basketball coaches of the four. Hopefully that will happen sometime early. So that's coming up. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're preparing in the newspaper about high school basketball?
Yeah, so when we have a basketball preview coming out, of course, we'll have some previews of the teams from both the boys and girls sides. Also, looking to do some features on some big players, some big names here in the county. Also, some new coaches are coming into the county. Also, want to get people to get to know those new coaches as well. So it's going to be a mix of previews, looking at records, stats, who's coming back. Also, getting to know some new people coming into the county for coaching or any other players that's coming in. Really just want to let everybody have a chance to get to know all the teams before they start playing. I know it's going to be a really competitive season here in Chatham County, especially even with Chatham and Wood Charter, and then also here, of course, with the public schools with Northwood, Seaforth. So really looking forward to those previews coming up, especially really early November is when they're going to come out.
All right, we're getting ready to wrap this up, folks. Hey, thanks for watching. We're averaging about 260 folks watching us on Facebook, about 50 folks watching this on Twitter, and then about a dozen folks that go on to YouTube. We don't worry too much about YouTube because that's more on our archival site for us. Asheboo, what you got coming up? Where are you going to be at for the rest of this week through next Wednesday?
Yeah, so far I know I'll be at Seaforth's conference championship game tonight against Northmore, and then tomorrow I will be at Jordan Matthews and Seaforth for football. And then, I'll check my schedule for the rest of the week. I will be going out of town this weekend, going back home, but check my schedule for the rest of the weekend. Also, let you guys know on Twitter where I'll be at. Also, if you follow me on Twitter at Asheebo R38, I'll be tweeting live any events where I'll be. State playoffs is coming up. for a lot of sports. So I'll bring some more content for those games. And yeah, we'll also get into basketball season like we said, and start this winter sports season off strong. So looking forward to that.
All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up here. Hey, thanks for watching again. Again, follow Asheboo on Twitter. Next Wednesday, we'll have pretty much a nice wrap-up. We should have a good idea of who's playing where in the playoffs, and maybe we'll get a little bit more information on what's coming up in basketball season. But remember, I think November 8th is when the News and Record is coming up with their sports preview for basketball. Anything else to close up, Asheboo?
Nope, I think we're all good.
All right. Hey, folks, thanks for watching. We are going to be out of here and getting ready to end this stream.